out to the ongoing battle between CNN and the White House. CNN celebrated their legal victory when Jim Acosta got his press pass reinstated. But what does it mean for everybody else? Byron York, writing yesterday, said, and I quote, the Acosta decision could make it easier for White House officials to kick reporters out, end quote. Joining me now to discuss is former White House press secretary and senior advisor to the America First Action PAC, Sean Spicer, along with former Ronald Reagan aide and author of the forthcoming book, Swamp Wars, Jeffrey Lord. All right, gentlemen, let's talk about the new rules the White House has laid out for reporters. Actually, will they be followed by Acosta and his colleagues in the press room? Or is the White House going to need to come up with a maybe 3 strikes and you're out plan? Sean, your view on this new announcement of the White House?
Well, Governor, it's great to see you. I think I talked about this in my podcast with Kellyanne Conway. This is a discussion about content versus conduct. And I think there's a very capable press secretary that's right now able to discern the difference between the two. No one has a question about the content of any reporter's question. They can ask whatever they want. But their conduct is what's in question. And I think that's what the judge ruled the other day. Will they behave in a way that's professional? Will they respect not just the office of the presidency, but their fellow reporters? And I think that's what this really comes down to. I think there's a great press secretary now. You may know her, that knows how to call balls and strikes. And there's a president that knows how to understand that as well. And I think this is what it comes down to. And where other organizations, no names mentioned, but you may guess them, are trying to blur the lines is the question about what the content is. No one cares what the reporter asks. They can ask whatever question they want. But the way that these reporters conduct themselves, do they conduct themselves and show respect to not only the fellow reporters, but to the President of the United States and the White House is what's in question.
Jeffrey, the judge ruled in a rather narrow way. He did not say that the First Amendment was in any way being attacked by Jim Acosta losing his hard pass. It was just that the process was not fully maybe visible to the world, and therefore his Fifth Amendment issue was the only one. But they celebrated as if somehow that they had taken a stand for democracy. I don't remember any of the mainstream media being really that clever, clear, and honest about what that ruling was from the judge last week.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Governor. And Sean has hit the nail on the head. This is about conduct, not about content. You know, in the last couple days, we've heard from Major Garrett now with CBS. In the Obama days, of course, he was the White House correspondent for Fox. No one remembers Major Garrett acting like Jim Acosta. It's because he didn't. There is a way to do this. Sean has been the White House press secretary. I've been a press secretary to a senator and a congressman before that. This is totally unprofessional stuff. And I think that CNN has to be very careful here of what they wish for. Because now, if there are going to be a set of rules and regulations, then the good press secretary that Sarah is, she's going to have to, and she will, I have no doubt, call them out. You know, one other thing, I took a quick look back at a memory from childhood of JFK's press conferences, where he had adversarial reporters. They were so well-mannered, Governor. It's beyond belief. We have gone so far down the path in the wrong direction with this stuff. And it's almost unbelievable, and I think CNN and Jim Acosta will come to regret it. So will their compadres in the room.
I want to get your thoughts on the fact that the White House Correspondents Association have announced that it's not going to have a comedian roast the media next year at what's known as the annual Nerd Prom. Instead, they're going to have biographer Ron Chernow, who's going to be the featured speaker, to put some perspective on today's politics and history. Last year's speaker, anti-Trump comedian Michelle Wolf, tweeted this in response. She said, and I quote, "The White House Correspondents Association are cowards. The media is complicit, and I couldn't be prouder," end quote. First of all, I'm not sure they had a comedian last year. They had Michelle Wolf, and she just wasn't funny. So, Sean, what's your response to the fact that Correspondents Association, for the first time in decades, has decided that they're not going to have that kind of lack of political humor going on?
You know what? Here's my response. I applaud Olivia Knox and the White House Correspondents Association for doing this. They want to have a dinner that celebrates the First Amendment, and it actually shows that that's what their intent is. So I applaud them for it, because They last year they wanted to have a comedian, and they talked about how this comedian, Michelle Wolf, would conduct herself and talk about the First Amendment, and it wasn't. It was rude. It was disgusting, and I think for them to at least acknowledge the fact that they want to talk about the First Amendment and have a historian do it. I don't know what this individual is going to talk about, but I think at least their intent is right. And I'll give them credit for that, because last year's dinner was disgusting. And what I thought was more appalling about the dinner than anything is that they branded it as about the First Amendment. The comedian, if that's what you call her, wasn't that. And no one in the White House correspondence from NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN said anything about the way that this person, so-called, conducted themselves in the, quote, spirit of the First Amendment. So to see them at least acknowledge that that wasn't the right direction is at least something that I want to applaud and say, at least you got the message.
Well, we'll see how it works out. Jeffrey, Sean, great to have you both.